Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 1981 giallo film Corpse Mania, and it's a film from Hong Kong. So this is my first time actually seeing a giallo film from Hong Kong. It's my first time seeing a giallo film that's not from the US, Spain, Germany, or Italy. And usually we're seeing the landscape of Italy or somewhere in Spain. More recently, I watched one that was in Portugal. Never seen a giallo set in Hong Kong, so very, very interesting. It was just nice to see something different, I will say. And I actually liked this giallo film. I thought this was a solid giallo. So let's get into it. Directed by Chih-Hung Kuei. Hopefully I did a decent enough job on that. Who also did the films The Delinquent, The Killer Snakes, Killer Constable, and Curse of Evil. That's just some films. Written by Kuei and On Szeto, who also wrote scripts for Erotic Ghost Story 2, Brutal Sorcery, Lady Exterminator, and Bloody Handkerchief. Also, just a few other titles. The setting of this film is interesting, and I like the fog in the beginning. That's one thing that just keeps coming back, the use of the fog. Now, some people don't like when fog gets overused. I am fine with fog getting overused, especially when it looks cool. And there are a bunch of times in this film where fog's being used, and then you also get that cool look of like a street light and the actual, like, I was gonna say like asphalt, but it's not asphalt, like the brick of the actual road in this instant being wet. It gives it this very interesting kind of noir look to it. And yeah, it's just cool. Like, it looks great, and nice looking fog is awesome. The layers of security with the first house, also very interesting to me. The very beginning, when the person goes to check what's going on outside, the lady, she like opens up like a shutter that kind of like opens upward, and then there are these like giant bars across the front of the house that she then has to like push really hard to like push them aside. It's just interesting to see that security level, just because that's not something I'm familiar with. I've never seen a house like that before. So once again, this goes back to me saying it was really interesting to see a new setting, not just for the standpoint of, the location, but also how the houses were. And especially with the brothel and all the big abandoned houses that end up in this movie, really cool to look at, very interesting, and they really help set a really cool atmosphere of just kind of like creepy and dirty and dingy and mysterious, and I like that. The mystery of the guy with the sick wife moving in is intriguing. That is something that they kind of set up immediately as kind of like a what is going on here. Obviously, the women are then kind of running around in the streets, like gossiping, trying to figure out what's going on. They even go up and start like banging on the door at one point because they hear some noises. So all of that kind of drives the audience's interest in what's actually at play here. You figure a dead body will be found because of the big deal they make of the foul smell that's coming from outside of the house. And yes, that's exactly what happens when they get in there, when the police officer actually breaks the door down. So that was the house in the beginning that was owned by Master Lee, but I guess no one was living in it. It had been abandoned. I guess Lee had been in an insane asylum and then finally eventually got out and came back. But I don't know, was he actually like living there? It seemed like he was kind of like going many places, and was kind of hard to pin down. But they find that dead body there, and the reveal of the dead body is pretty solid. It looks like they used mealworms instead of maggots, because maggots are, relatively small. Mealworms probably A, easier to work with, B, probably easier to get, and C, they look nastier because they're larger. So that works. There are also some scenes where they show dead bodies where they also throw some worms in there, which I thought that was kind of a odd thing, because especially they're not like in the ground, like they're laying on something where the worms wouldn't be able to get there. So that's kind of a weird choice, but the mealworms help, I think. So in this giallo, the killer actually is supposed to be a sex maniac. Now, I'm a little bit unsure. I'm unclear on the fact of, they said that the dead bodies had been abused. We know what this means. Necrophilia. So, was that actually what was going on, or was it just the fact that they were prostitutes? Because in the end, when we find out, and obviously spoilers for this movie, in the end, when we find out that it's the liquor delivery guy, um, I guess he would have been the one who was having sex with the dead bodies because they were framing Master Lee. He and Madame Lan from the brothel were framing Master Lee. So if there was any abuse that happened to the bodies, that would have been the liquor delivery guy. So that's my guess. But there is kind of a question when I was done with the film of, was that what was actually happening? Is that they were being abused after they died? I don't know. Or was that just a part of the overall story that was going on? Because I think there was something in Master Lee's past that had to do with necrophilia, and that they kind of needed that aspect of the story to cast that suspicion further on Master Lee, which I guess that was part of why he was in the insane asylum. The question becomes, is Master Lee the killer? Because he shows up dressed like the killer. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he's dressed like the killer. Most likely he is not the killer because this is a giallo film. But if there are people who are watching this film not knowing it's a giallo film, I could see where some people would be like, oh, that's got to be the guy. Where is this going? But if you know it's giallo, you know that it's way too early for that type of information to come out. So why wouldn't Madame Lan allow Master Lee to buy Hong Mei's freedom? She's sick all the time and not earning for her. So I get in the end when it's revealed that Madame Lan did not want to sell the freedom of many of the women, or many of her prostitutes, to Master Lee, because it is revealed that he wanted to be kind of philanthropic and like free them all from hell was his terminology for it. But I don't understand why she wouldn't let Hong Mei go, because they make a point of showing the fact that like she's constantly sick. She's not earning. She's not doing her job, like why do you care that much? She might as well get some money for her. So I don't understand why specifically she wouldn't sell her. So that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But, it does make sense in the end why Madame Lan didn't want to give up the rest of her prostitutes, because obviously she wouldn't have a living at that point. The liquor delivery guy is pretty funny, and obviously we find out much later that he's the killer. I think they make him be kind of like this wacky, zany character because that helps to kind of shed a bunch of suspicion from him as a character. Although I did start to suspect him pretty early on, just because he shows up so briefly, and why would they be showing a character like this? And he was so over the top and fun and interesting that I also thought that probably was part of their kind of way to throw people off of the scent of what was really going on there. So, just saying. What a creepy image of the dead woman being rubbed with a fur glove while draped over the guy's body. Now, this is a question of, I don't know, did that actually happen? I was a little confused about this. Did that actually happen, or was it a situation where that was part of the story that the liquor delivery guy was telling? And so that scene was just him telling this story. That's what I kind of thought was going on right there, especially because they show the face of the person who is wiping down the body. But very interesting scene, very disturbing, very odd, but also shot in a very beautiful way at the same time. It's very interesting. I love shots like that, where it's like something messed up or disturbing or just off-putting, but it's beautifully shot. So like at the same time that you're like disgusted and feel off-put by it, you're also just like enamored with how it looks. You're just like, oh, but it looks amazing. I'm confused. Is this one large abandoned home, or is it multiple? I think they say at one point that there were multiple abandoned houses, very large abandoned houses, but it was hard to tell, especially early on, is this one large abandoned house that all these dead bodies are being found in, or is it multiple? I think it was multiple, but then my question is, why are there all these abandoned large houses? There was no kind of backstory on that. And, not that there really needed to be, but I found myself kind of wondering that. Based on what Master Lee's cousin says, he was looking to buy the prostitute's freedom from the brothel. That seems pretty philanthropic. It does paint Master Lee in a very good light, but this is coming from his cousin, so I can see where audience members would kind of be suspicious of him, because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes you cannot trust family, because family will cover for their kin, and that could have been at play here with Master Lee's cousin. Can't argue with a random martial arts fight breaking out. That is always fun, and that's something I've not seen in any giallo film, so that was an interesting departure. That was the one where they were trying to set up a trap to get Master Lee initially so they could question him at the police precinct, I guess it's called. Um, but I did not expect that. It came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there's a martial arts fight going on. I was like, whoa, but this is also fun. So awesome. Let's go. The killer attacking Beard 9, which, by the way, Beard 9 is such a weird name. The killer attacking Beard 9 in the car was pretty fun and gory. I really like that. That's probably my favorite kill scene in the film. Obviously, they're using that kind of like drab-ish red paint that were in a lot of Italian giallo films. So it looks very similar. They used a lot of it. I love kind of like the splatter aspect of things with it. Actually, maybe it's not my favorite kill. There are some really good kills in this. Yeah, there are some really good kills. But that's a fun one because it gets crazy. They shoot it in a very interesting way that feels hectic, but you can also see everything that's going on and have enough time to focus. And then I also like that the drunk guy just kind of like happens upon the car and then gets grabbed by Beard 9 as he's dying. That was kind of cool. Why do the police keep going back to Madame Lan and telling her everything about the case? That is something I didn't understand. So I understand it from the standpoint of when they wanted to set her up as bait to try and get the killer, but they continually had been coming back to her and like updating her on, oh, we found another body, oh, this, oh, this, oh, this. I guess maybe it's just because it was her ladies, but at the same time, like, do the police really want her involved? Because she could also be a suspect. Now, I'm assuming it was just done for the convenience of the actual story writing for the film to further help keep the audience away from suspecting Madame Lan having any sort of involvement because, you know, if the police are treating her like she's not a suspect, then more than likely the audience might see her as not a suspect as well. So that's just my theory on it. I do love the scene of the killer chasing Yen down the street. That was Madame Lan's daughter. Or I don't think she was her biological daughter. I think she like adopted her basically. But when she's getting chased by the killer down the street, it looked awesome. That was the one. Oh, and the amount of blood. The amount of blood and her death was really, really good. That was one where the blood, you could see that they were just throwing like a lot of blood up when the killing was going on. And there was like a bludgeoning scene with it too. It was really good. It worked really, really well. I was fooled. I thought the rehearsal to catch the killer was the real deal. I do like that they kind of have that in there where you think they're working at catching the actual killer, but then they just reveal, oh, well, this was just a rehearsal. I was like, oh, okay, you got me on that one. That was fun. Then things don't actually go as expected, and we find out why at the end, which is because Madame Lan was heavily involved with this. She was the mastermind. So that is when, well, let me get to my notes. Great surprise with the killer being under Madame Lan's bed. Now, obviously, that is something that was set up by Madame Lan with this liquor delivery guy. Because I was wondering, like, when that happened. First of all, it was a great surprise. It was a good, like, jump scare. I didn't expect it coming. But then I started thinking, I'm like, how would he have gotten in there? Because there were so many police officers there all over the place. And then it all made sense when we see Madame Lan later kind of coming out of the secret passageway in the wall, that I was like, oh, she's in on this. She has something to do with it. So obviously that's how he got in. She got him in somehow. She may have even gotten him in through that passageway. You know, she may have at one point before the police showed up just kind of hid him in there, and then he comes out after everything's set up, gets under the bed, and they, you know, go through the charade. And then they obviously take the body of Yen throw it off the balcony. It's supposed to seem like it's Madame Lan, and it's not. Although the detective ends up noticing that, because as the body's being taken away, he looks at the hand and he notices that there's no buildup of tobacco on the fingers, because he noticed that about Madame Lan, is that she smoked a lot and she had a buildup of tobacco. He says this at the very end of the film too, so very smart, very good writing for that. That head chopping scene was phenomenal. I will say, okay, I think this is my favorite kill scene, the head chopping. Especially with the mouth being open from the severed head. that is when Madame Lan actually gets killed by the liquor delivery guy because he's just like, screw this at this point. I'm just going to offer him and take all this money and I am out. Although he obviously gets caught. But that was so great. Like, I didn't see it coming that he just chops her head off. And then further, didn't see it coming that the mouth then opens when it's a severed head. So cool. I love it. There are a lot of really cool things in this film. Good twist with Madame Lan paying the liquor delivery guy to kill Master Li for his money. Yeah, because then Master Li, one of the big aspects of this film is Master Li's missing. So they're looking for him. He's been killed by the liquor delivery guy and buried, and they find the body at the end because he leads them to it, but they just think that he kind of like got away. It was a good plan. It just didn't pan out. The staging of the death of Madame Lan was pretty well done. Her hiding and using a corpse as her falling to her death worked very well. Yeah, I kind of already covered that, so. Pretty fun and engaging camera work in this film with a lot of interesting smooth camera movements. Really visually looking great, you know, from an actual like directing cinematography standpoint, really good. The acting was really good. The script writing was quite good. I mean, it's a good film. They do a good job of making everything look very dark and dingy, which adds to the kind of sinister atmosphere of it. I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. The music is interesting, and it also contributes to the overall atmosphere. There are all these really interesting moments that kind of increase that atmosphere with the music, where it's like this weird kind of like discordant note that gets hit a few times, and it just gives you this off feeling that just contributes to the scene. So I really enjoyed that. Nice sound design in this too. The sound design really does kind of stand out because there are those moments where they take the score away and you could just hear that really nice sound design. A lot of films you don't really notice the sound design, but with films that do a particularly good job, you do notice it, and this is one of those films. Plenty of glints of light on the knife of the killer. That is something that, you know, it can be overdone, but I kind of enjoyed it in this. It was like a stylistic thing. It was kind of fun. So yeah, I liked it. There was especially one, I forget what was going on at that exact time, but it may have been right before he killed Madame Lan. I don't know if I'm right on that or not, but he pulled the knife out and it just like the glint went like all the way down the blade. It was cool. So I enjoyed that. But obviously I had a good time with this film. I'm very interested to see what other people thought of this one if you have seen it. So go ahead and put the comments down there. We can talk about this, or we can also just talk about, you know, giallo in general. I'm down, as you can probably tell. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give this one a very solid 3.5-star rating. I thought about giving it 4. So if I did quarters, I would definitely do like a 3.75, but I'm going to keep it at 3.5. But I was pretty close to giving it a 4. So just know that. So like 3.5, 4. It's a good one. It doesn't crack, you know, my top 10 giallo films, but it's not super far from that. This is a good one. I did enjoy it. So, yeah, once again, interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it. So anyway, thank you very much for checking this out. Do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you already have, thank you very much. Appreciate that. If you haven't, it's quick, it's painless, it costs you no money, and it keeps me motivated. That's your way to repay me for doing these videos, because I'm not making money or anything. I'm just trying to build a nerdy horror community here. So please join. But regardless, I really do thank you for taking the time to watch this. And until next time, keep it brutal.